Title: Interesting Shlokas from Mahabharata. Some years ago, I read a portion of Mahabharata, up to Gita, and made some notes for myself. I have given below some interesting shlokas. I am not claiming that these shlokas are the only interesting ones in this section of Mahabharata. Mahabharata talks about itself. 1. As the full moon by its mild light expandeth the buds of the water lily, so this Purana, by exposing the light of the Shruti, hath expanded the human intellect. Adi Parvai. 2. In former days, having placed the 4 Vedas on one side and the Bharata on the other, these were weighed in the balance by the celestials assembled for the purpose. And as the later weighed heavier than the 4 Vedas with Halatale, their mysteries from that period it hath been called in the world Mahabharata. In Zadi Parvai Damai. 3. This Bharata consists of 100,000 sacred shlokas composed by the son of Satyavati, of immeasurable mental power. He that reads it to others, and they that hear it read, attain the world of Brahman and become equal to Hava, the very gods. This Bharata is equal unto the Vedas, is holy and excellent, is the worthiest of all to be listened to, and is a Purana worshipped by the Rishis. It contains much useful instruction on Artha and Kama. This sacred Dampa history maketh the heart desire for salvation. Learn persons by reciting a Veda of Krishna Dvaipayana to those that are liberal, truthful and kable. Believing, earn much wealth. Sins such as killing the embryo in the womb, arata silame, biniamumpa hancha, destroyed assuredly by this. Adi Parva Lxia. Duration of writing. 4. The sage Krishna Dvaipayana completed this work in 3 years. Adi Parva Lxia, on virgin birth 5. And Satyavati gratified with having obtained the excellent boon in consequence of which she became sweet-scented and her virginity remained unsullied, conceived through Parasara's embraces. Adi Parv Lxia. Mahabharata on Chitta Suddhi needed for the Brahman experience. 6. It is only when man doth not commit any sin in respect of any living thing, in thought, deed, or speech, it is then that he attaineth to purity. As that of Brahman. When one feareth nothing, when one is not feared by lie, anything, when one wisheth for nothing, when one injureth nothing, it is then that one attaineth to the purity of Brahman. Adi Parv Lxxv. King Yayati's description of the deadly power of Brahmanas. 7. Yayati the Mankavya said, the wise know that a Brahmana is more to be avoided than a Kalde, an angry snake of virulent poison, or a blazing fire of spreading flames. Devyani then told the monarch, O bull among men, why dost thou indeed say that Brahmana should be more avoided than an angry snake of virulent poison, or a blazing fire of spreading flames? The monarch answered, the snake killeth only one. The sharpest weapon slayeth but a single person. The Brahmana, when angry, destroyeth whole cities and kingdoms. Therefore, O timid one, do I deem a Brahmana as more to be avoided than either. Adi Parva Lxxi. King Yayati's criticism of self-praise. 8. Yayati answered, they that speak of their own merits are deemed to suffer the hell called Bhauma. Adi Parv Xi. King Yayati's lecture on Jnana and Yoga. 9. Ashtaka asked, who amongst these, O king, both exerting constantly like the sun and the moon, first attaineth to communion with Brahma, the ascetic, or the man of knowledge? Yayati answered, the wise with the help of the Vedas and of knowledge, having ascertained the visible universe to be illusory, instantly realizes the Supreme Spirit as the sole existent independent essence, while they that devote themselves to yoga meditation take time to acquire the same knowledge, for it is by practice alone that these latter divest themselves of the chance consciousness of quality. Hence the wise attain to salvation first. Then again, if the person devoted to yoga find not sufficient time in one life to attain success, being led astray by the attraction of the world, in his next life, he is benefited by the progress already achieved, for he devoteth himself regretfully to the pursuit of success. But the man of knowledge ever beholdeth the indestructible unity, and koya poti is therefore, though steeped inwardly, enjoyments never affected by them at heart. Therefore, there is nothing to impede his salvation. He, however, who faileth to attain to knowledge, should yet devote himself to piety as dependent on action. But he that devoteth himself to such piety, moved thereto by desire of salvation, can never achieve success. His sacrifices bear no fruit and partake of the nature of cruelty. Piety which is dependent on action that proceedeth not from the desire of fruit is, in the case of such men, yoga itself. Adi Parv X Key. Mahabharata's acknowledgement of changes in rules of women's conduct. 10. Women formerly were not immured within houses and dependent on husbands and other relatives. They used to go about freely enjoying themselves, as best as they liked. O thou of excellent qualities, they did not then adhere to their husbands faithfully, and yet, O handsome one, they were not regarded sinful, for that was the sanctioned usage of the times. Adi Parva Zoli 52. Mahabharata's acknowledgement of the importance of Puranas. 11. The celestials answered, He hath studied the 4 Vedas together with the Babili. The Puranas that are regarded as the 5th. Aranya Parvalefi. Mahabharata on earthly and spiritual vows. 12. These blessed ones addressing Yudhishthir said, Banish all evil thoughts from your minds, purify your hearts and then set out for the tirthas. The Pari. Observance of regulations in respect of the body are called earthly vows, while efforts to purify the heart so that it may be free from evil thoughts are called spiritual vows. Aranya Parv XCIII, Mahabharata on the importance of associating with the wise. 13. Citizens of Hastinapur said, Listen as we indicate the merits and demerits springing respectively from association with what is good and bad. As cloth, water, the ground and sesame seeds are perfumed by association with flowers, even so are qualities ever the product of association. Verily, association with fools produceth an illusion that entangleth the mind, as cloth to validation. Daily communion with the good and the wise leadeth to the practice of virtue. Therefore they that desire emancipation should associate with those that are wise and old and honest and pure in conduct and possessed of ascetic merit. They should be waited upon whose triple possessions, viz. Knowledge of the Vedas, origin and acts, are all pure, and association with them is even superior to the study of the scriptures. Devoid of the religious acts as unme, void of the benkyatale, void of the benkyatale yet reap religious merit by association with the righteous, as we should come by sin by waiting upon the sinful. The very sight and touch of the dishonest and converse and association with them cause diminution of virtue, and men that are doomed to these never attain purity of mind. Association with the base impaireth the understanding, as indeed with the indifference maketh it indifferent, while the communion with the good ever exalteth it. Aranya Parvai, Yudhishthira's views on virtue. 14. Yudhishthira said, I never act, solicitous of the fruits of my actions. I give away, because it is my duty to give. I sacrifice because it is my duty to sacrifice. I act virtuously not from the desire of reaping the fruits of lentor, virtue, but of not transgressing the ordinances of the Veda, and beholding also the conduct of the good and wise. My heart is naturally attracted towards virtue. The man who wisheth to reap the fruits of virtue is a trader. My heart of virtue. His nature is mean, and he should never be counted amongst the Pekkasatachu. No, doth he ever obtain the fruits of his virtue. If the virtues that are practiced by the virtuous had no fruits, this universe then would be enveloped in infamous darkness. No one then would pursue salvation, no one would seek to acquire knowledge, not even wealth, but men would live like beasts. If asceticism, the austerities of celibate life, sacrifices, study of the Vedas, charity, honesty, these all were fruitless, men would not have practiced virtue generation after generation. Aranya Parv XXXI. Kubera's views on success in human affairs. 15. Kubera said, O Yudhishthira, patience, ability, appropriate time and space and prowess lead to success in human affairs. Aranya Parv CLXC. Sage Pulastya's views on how to become a Brahmana. 16. Sage Pulastya said, By vows, by investiture of the sacred, by fasts, by rites, and by mantras, one becometh a Brahmana. Aranya Parv LXXXIII. Yudhishthira's views on Varnashram Dharma. 17. The serpent said, O Yudhishthira, say, who is a Brahmana, and what should be known? Yudhishthira said, O foremost of serpents, it is asserted by the wise in Jabalumaye and Kiloya, whom are seen truth, charity, forgiveness, good conduct, benevolence, observance of the rites of his order, and mercy is a Brahmana. And O serpent, that which should be known is even the supreme Brahma, in which is neither happiness nor misery, and attaining which beings are not affected with misery. What is thy opinion? The serpent said, O Yudhishthira, truth, charity, forgiveness, benevolence, benignity, kindness, and the Veda, which worketh the benefit of the four orders, which is the authority in matters of religion, and which is true, are seen, even in the Sudra. As regards the object to be known and which thou allegest, is without both happiness and misery, I do not see any such that is devoid of these. Yudhishthira said, those characteristics that are present in a Sudra do not exist in a Brahmana, nor do those that are in a Brahmana exist in a Sudra, and a Sudra is not a Sudra by birth alone, nor a Brahmana is Brahmana by birth alone. It is said by the wise, in whom are seen those virtues is a Brahmana, and people term him a Sudra, in whom qualities do not exist even, though he be a Brahmana by birth. And again, as for thy assertion that the object be known, as asserted by me, doth not exist because nothing exists that is devoid of both happiness and misery. Such indeed is the opinion, O serpent, that nothing exists that is without them both. But as in cold heat doth not exist, nor in heat cold, so there cannot exist an object in which both happiness and misery cannot exist. The serpent said, O king, if thou recognize him as a Brahmana by bolus 6, then, O long-lived one, the distinction of caste becometh futile as long as conduct doth not come into play. Yudhishthira said, in human society, O mighty and highly intelligent serpent, it is difficult to ascertain one's caste because of promiscuous intercourse among the four orders. This is my opinion. Men belonging to all orders promiscuously begat offspring upon women of all the orders, and of men, speech, sexual intercourse, birth and death are common. And to this the rishis have borne testimony by using as the beginning of a sacrifice such expressions as of what caste server may be, we celebrate the sacrifice. Therefore, those that are wise have asserted that character is the chief essential requisite. Whatsoever now conforms to the rules of pure and virtuous conduct, him have I, ere now, designated as a Brahmana. Aranya Parva CLXX9.